The conference room is all glass walls and cold air. I can see the entire office from where I sit. Everyone pretends not to watch, but they're watching. Gregory sits across from me with a folder closed in front of him. His hands are steady. His jaw is relaxed. He doesn't make eye contact because he's practiced this moment 1,000 times in his head. Your position has been restructured, he says, opening the folder like he's reading from a script. His voice is flat, professional, rehearsed. Effective immediately, you'll be reporting to Mitchell in operations. Your current title is no longer applicable. I want to interrupt. I want to ask why. I want to scream that I was the one who saved the Meridian account. I was the one working 90-hour weeks. I was the one who fixed what he broke. But something in my chest stops me. Something in the way he's not shaking, the way his eyes stay focused on the folder instead of my face. It tells me this wasn't decided yesterday. This wasn't decided last week. This was decided months ago. And I'm just now finding out. Your current projects will be transitioned, he continues. Someone from HR sits silently in the corner. A witness, not a mediator. A legal requirement, not a support. All deliverables will be handed off by end of week. I nod slowly. I stand slowly. I walk out of that conference room slowly. And I don't let him see the moment my hands start shaking. The office floor feels different now. The air tastes different. Everyone's eyes follow me as I walk back to my desk, but they look away when I approach. They're not looking at me with sympathy. They're looking at me with fear. One colleague, Curtis, makes direct eye contact as I pass. His expression breaks something inside me. It's not pity. It's apology mixed with terror. He knows something I don't know yet, and he's afraid of what it means. He's afraid of Gregory. He's afraid of being associated with whatever's about to happen to me. I understand immediately. The story is already written. Whatever Gregory told them about why I was demoted, it's already spreading like a virus through the office. It's already becoming truth in their minds. They're already choosing sides, and they're choosing the side that keeps them safe. They're choosing the side with the power. By the time I reach my desk, I feel isolated in a way I've never felt before. These were my colleagues. These were people I worked with, people I helped, people who supposedly had my back. But now they're all looking at their screens like I'm already a ghost. I sit down at my desk. My hands are cold despite the warm office. I pull up my email and scroll through this morning's messages. Nothing unusual. No warning emails. No private messages asking if I'm okay. No one preparing me. Just the announcement, delivered in that glass room like my career ended while I was getting coffee at 8 in the morning. I realize Gregory didn't give me a chance to prepare. He didn't give me a warning. He just erased my title and moved on, assuming I would accept it the same way everyone else accepts things they can't control. But I'm going to control this. That much, I decide right then, is non-negotiable. That evening, I sit at home with my laptop open and a cold cup of coffee next to me. The office feels like a dream now. Distant and unreal. I pull up my project folders, every file from the last 2 years, and I start searching for something specific. The Meridian account recovery project. The one that should have my name all over it. The one that paid for the company's entire quarterly bonus pool. The work is there. Every email is there. Every revision, every late night, every moment I fought to save that relationship when Gregory's risky decision nearly blew it all up. All intact. All documented. But my name is gone. Not deleted in a simple way. That would be too obvious. Instead, it's quietly removed and replaced with someone else's name. The file has been edited. The history has been changed. And the metadata shows the change was made 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks before the demotion. 3 weeks before I knew anything was wrong. I take screenshots of everything. My hands are shaking now, but not from fear. From understanding. This wasn't punishment. This was preparation. He didn't demote me because of poor performance. He demoted me because he needed to erase me from that project before he could erase me from my position. He was building a story, a rewritten history where I never existed, where someone else saved the Meridian account, where my contribution was never documented or recognized. Once that story was solid enough, once the reassignment was complete and backed up and accepted, then removing my title would look justified. It would look necessary. It would look like performance issues. The demotion wasn't the first move in this game. It was the final move. And I've just found the evidence that proves everything. I don't send angry emails. I don't request emergency meetings. I don't demand explanations or threaten legal action or go to HR with complaints. I don't vent to colleagues or cry to friends or post rage-filled messages to myself in private notes. Instead, I do something that terrifies people like Gregory far more than any confrontation could. I disappear. I show up to work on Monday morning in my new position in operations. I do my job. I'm pleasant but quiet. I'm competent but invisible. I'm the opposite of a threat. And I watch Gregory's entire body language shift when he realizes I'm not fighting back. His shoulders drop within 3 days. His jaw unclenches. He stops avoiding my eyes in the hallway. He starts speaking freely around me in ways he never did before, assuming I've been domesticated, assuming the demotion worked, assuming I'm broken. He laughs more. He takes risks he wouldn't have taken if he thought I was still a danger to him. His confidence is becoming dangerous. And every time he speaks freely, every time he assumes I'm no longer paying attention, I'm learning. Learning his patterns. Learning how he shifts blame without ever saying the word blame. Learning how he rewrites timelines in real time. Learning how he justifies decisions that were never justified in the first place. I'm learning everything I need to destroy him completely and legally, with documentation so solid that he'll never be able to explain it away. I overhear a conversation in the break room 3 days later. Gregory is talking to 2 senior managers. I'm getting coffee very slowly, while listening to every word. The demotion was necessary, he says, his voice certain and calm. Performance-related issues. We've been monitoring the situation for months. It's subtle. It's devastating. And it's completely false. But here's what matters. People believe it. One of the managers nods like this makes perfect sense. The other doesn't push back or ask for specifics. And by the time Gregory leaves the break room, the story has officially become fact in their minds. The demotion wasn't strategic. It wasn't about covering up his mistake. It was fair. It was justified. It was necessary. He's rewriting history in real time. And nobody is questioning him because nobody has a reason to question him. Nobody has the documentation I have. Nobody knows what he did. But I do. And I understand now that Gregory isn't just trying to protect himself from the demotion question. He's trying to protect himself from something much bigger. There's something beneath this. Something he did that was worse than just making a bad business decision. Something that required a sacrifice. Something that required me to disappear so he could survive. I need to find out what he's really hiding. Because once I understand the full scope of what he's running from, I'll understand exactly how to make it visible. I buy a notebook. Physical, not digital. Something nobody can hack. Something that lives only in my hands. And I start building a timeline of events in perfect chronological order. Every email. Every approval. Every meeting note. Every conversation I can document. Every decision point. Every moment that led to this. I work on this every night for nearly 2 weeks. I drink cold coffee. I cross-reference dates against project milestones. I look for the patterns that reveal what Gregory is hiding. And then I see it. The demotion lines up perfectly. Too perfectly to be coincidental. With a risky decision Gregory made on the Meridian account. A decision that nearly lost us the client. A decision that, if it had gone wrong just slightly differently, would have cost the company millions in lost revenue. He made that decision without consensus. He didn't loop in leadership. He didn't ask permission or document approval. He just moved fast and made a unilateral call. And when it nearly fell apart, he needed someone to blame. He needed someone to have made the initial mistake that his risky decision was supposed to fix. He needed a scapegoat to explain the crisis while he positioned himself as the hero who stepped in and fixed it. He chose me. I see the shape of the lie now. It's not complicated or sophisticated. Just consistent. And that consistency, that rigid repeated story, is going to be his weakness. You can't lie consistently when someone's asking the right questions. Gregory starts delegating my former responsibilities to other people. People who are less experienced. People less familiar with the projects. People who are less prepared for the actual work. He does it without context. Without proper handoff meetings. Without documentation that would explain the decision or the reasoning. Mistakes start appearing almost immediately. Small ones at first. Missed deadlines. Incomplete reports. Misaligned expectations with clients. Nothing catastrophic yet, but visible. Visible enough that people start noticing something's wrong. Visible enough that things that worked before aren't working now. And then Gregory starts pulling me aside. Off the record. In hallways and parking lots and moments when nobody's watching. Can you help with this? Can you look at that? Don't tell anyone, but I need your perspective on something. He needs me. He absolutely needs me. But he can't acknowledge that need because it would contradict the story he told about my performance issues. So he asks me to help quietly, without credit, without documentation, without official acknowledgement. He's asking me to save him while staying invisible. To fix what he broke while maintaining the narrative that I'm the broken one. And I help. Every single time he asks, I help. But I don't document it. I don't create records. I don't email him asking for credit. I just silently accept the work and the erasure and the burden. I let the cracks widen. I let him understand on some deep level he won't consciously admit that nothing works without me. He's becoming dependent on me while believing I'm broken. That's the exact position I need him in. Curtis corners me by the printer on a Thursday afternoon. He looks nervous. His eyes dart around the office. He glances over his shoulder before speaking quietly. Your work on the Meridian project, he says, barely audible. I saw the original files. Before they were changed. Before the reassignment. That entire recovery plan, that was all you. All of it. I don't respond immediately. I let him sit in his own discomfort. Let him feel the weight of what he's saying. I know you probably don't want to talk about it, he continues, his voice getting smaller. But I just wanted you to know that I know what happened. And it wasn't fair. It wasn't right. I look at him carefully. He's terrified. He's afraid of Gregory. He's afraid of being associated with the truth. He's afraid that speaking up will make him the next target. But he's telling me the truth because his conscience won't let him stay silent anymore. Thank you for saying that, I tell him quietly. I appreciate it more than you know. I don't push him for more information. I don't ask him to corroborate anything formally or sign a statement or go to HR with me. I simply listen to what he offers and accept his honesty. And by the end of the conversation, something shifts in Curtis's expression. He realizes something important. I'm not angry. I'm not desperate. I'm not falling apart. I'm precise. And precision is far more frightening than anger ever could be. My performance review arrives in my inbox on a Tuesday. I print it out and read it 3 times before responding. It's lukewarm, vague, filled with language like meets expectations, and areas for continued growth, but nothing specific. No concrete metrics. No actual examples. Just empty, protective language that says everything and nothing at the same time. I recognize it immediately. This is insulation. Gregory is building a paper trail that justifies the demotion without actually saying anything specific that could be challenged. If anyone asks later why he demoted me, he can point to this review and say, see? There were issues. This documents it. I read it again, and I schedule a follow-up meeting. Gregory looks uncomfortable when I ask to discuss specific feedback. He shifts in his chair. He avoids direct eye contact. And when I ask calm, neutral questions, which projects specifically need improvement? What metrics should I be tracking? Can you give me a concrete example of the performance gap you're referencing? Every answer is evasive. Every response circles back to the same vague language. And I record the entire conversation. Legally, with one-party consent in my state, on my phone tucked in my pocket. Just his voice, just his words. Just him failing to articulate any legitimate reason for the demotion. He's just documented that his feedback has no actual foundation. And he did it on his own terms, in his own voice, under his own authority. I start researching. Not aggressively. Just curiosity. Just one person in an office wondering about the history of the company and the people who've moved through it. I look at the company's organizational charts from past years. I search for people who left suddenly. People who disappeared from projects mid-work. People who were demoted and then pushed out within months. I find 2 others. Both demoted quietly. Both reassigned without explanation. Both absorbed blame for decisions they didn't make. Both pushed out of the company within months of their demotion. Both had taken falls so Gregory could climb higher. And something shifts in my understanding. This isn't personal betrayal. This isn't about me failing or disappointing him or not meeting his expectations. This is systematic. This is predatory. This is a pattern. I'm not the first victim. I'm just the first one who's paying attention. I'm the first one who's documenting. I'm the first one with the skills and the patience to understand what's happening. The realization shifts this from personal betrayal to systemic abuse. And knowing this, understanding that I'm part of a larger pattern, changes everything. It's not just about my demotion anymore. It's about justice that goes far beyond my own reputation. For the first time, I seriously consider leaving. Just quitting. Walking away. Starting fresh somewhere else where nobody knows my name or my history. A new company. A new city. New life. Clean slate. It would be easier. It would be faster. I could leave all this behind and start building something new without the weight of Gregory hanging over my reputation. But the moment I think through the full consequences, I understand what walking away right now would cost. If I leave now, the trail dies. The evidence remains scattered and incomplete. Nobody ever knows what Gregory did to me or to the others. The story stays exactly the way he wrote it. He moves on to the next victim without facing consequences. Walking away now would erase the trail. It would protect him. It would make me complicit in his continued predation. So I decide to stay. Not forever. Just long enough. Long enough for the truth to mature. Long enough for an opportunity to arrive. Long enough for the right moment to present itself. I'm not staying because I'm trapped or because I'm afraid. I'm staying because I'm patient. And patience is more powerful than anger could ever be. I start changing my posture at work. I soften my presence deliberately. I volunteer less. I speak less in meetings. I stop asking questions. I stop pushing back on decisions. When Gregory passes my desk, I don't make eye contact. I let my shoulders curve inward. I make myself physically smaller. He notices. I watch him notice. And he interprets the change exactly the way I want him to. I'm disengaged. I'm broken. I've accepted my place in the hierarchy and stopped fighting. I've been domesticated. He starts excluding me from meetings. Intentionally. He stops asking for my input on decisions. He makes choices without consulting me. He forgets about me, which is better than watching me. Forgotten people can't hurt you. Forgotten people are safe. But I'm not forgotten. I'm collecting. Every decision he makes without input that I could have improved, I'm watching. Every mistake that could have been prevented if he'd asked me, I'm noting. Every moment he demonstrates that he needs my skill but won't acknowledge my value, I'm documenting in my mind and in my notebook. Gregory believes I'm defeated. He believes I'm small. He believes I'm no longer a threat. He's relaxed completely now. He's comfortable. He's never been more vulnerable. The company announces a compliance and performance audit. It's routine, happens every 3 years. Standard corporate procedure. Nothing unusual. Nothing anyone should be alarmed about. But when Gregory hears the announcement in the all-staff meeting, I watch his face carefully. I'm sitting 3 tables away, supposedly not paying attention, but I'm watching everything. He looks confident, relaxed even. Because as far as he knows, there's nothing to find. The Meridian project was a success. It saved the client relationship and brought in additional revenue. His department performed well overall. There are no red flags, no inconsistencies, no paper trails that would concern an auditor. I feel something settle inside me. Clarity, understanding. Because Gregory doesn't realize that audits don't just look at outcomes. They look at process. They look at decision-making trails and approval chains. They look at how the paperwork actually aligns with the work that was done. They look for inconsistencies between the documented story and the actual timeline. And I have everything they need to find those inconsistencies. The audit isn't a threat to me. It's an opportunity. And for the first time since the demotion, I understand that timing is finally moving in my favor. I spend 2 weeks organizing everything methodically. Not aggressively. Not in a way that would be noticed. Just systematically at night in my home office. I create folders within folders. I pull emails and arrange them chronologically. I create a spreadsheet that maps every decision to its actual outcome. I remove every trace of emotion from the documentation. Just facts. Just records. Nothing but evidence. Every file tells the same story. My work was reassigned without documentation, my credit was quietly removed, and the demotion was strategic cover for his risky decision-making. I don't add commentary. I don't highlight the injustice or the betrayal. I just present the evidence in a way that auditors will understand immediately. I organize it the way a lawyer would organize a case. Clear, chronological, undeniable. I stop once everything is airtight. Once there's no way to argue against the documentation. Once there's no possible explanation Gregory could offer that would contradict what the evidence shows. I save everything to an encrypted drive. I hide it in a locked drawer in my home office. And I wait. The auditors begin their review. It's routine at first. They interview department heads, review project files, check compliance protocols. Nothing that seems unusual or threatening. Gregory participates normally. And then they find a discrepancy. It's tied to the Meridian project. A gap in the documentation. A point where responsibility shifted without clear explanation. A timeline that doesn't add up. Gregory is called in to explain it. He deflects immediately. Too quickly. He says the transition was normal, part of the standard restructuring process. Nothing unusual or strategic. But the auditors aren't satisfied with his explanation. Something about it doesn't feel right to them. They request background documentation, the original project files, the decision records, the approval chains, everything that would explain how and why the transition happened. I watch Gregory's face when he hears this request. For the first time since the demotion, I see something crack. A moment where his confidence fractures just slightly. 'Cause he knows those files exist. And he knows they don't match the story he's been telling. They call him back for a formal follow-up meeting. This time it's different. This time there's no small talk. They ask him directly. Why did responsibility for the Meridian recovery shift so abruptly? And more importantly, why wasn't there documentation of that transition? Why does your timeline not match the actual project timeline? He stumbles. His words start circling. He tries to explain it as part of a normal restructuring, but the timeline doesn't support that explanation. The restructuring came after the project was mostly complete. The shift in responsibility came after the work was already done. The auditors press harder. So the decision was made retroactively? To move the project lead after the work was fundamentally completed. Gregory's voice gets smaller with each answer. His confidence fractures visibly, and I watch it happen from across the office, watching him walk back from his meeting looking diminished. He can't explain it because there is no explanation that makes sense. The evidence contradicts his story at every point, and he knows that I know it. They call Curtis in to interview him about the project timeline and the actual workflow. I don't know exactly what they ask him, but I know what he tells them, the truth. My name was on the Meridian recovery from the beginning. My work saved the account. The reassignment came later, without explanation or documentation or legitimate business reason. Curtis doesn't do this because I asked him or because he owes me anything. He does it because the auditors ask directly, and the pressure of official scrutiny forces honesty. He's sitting under formal investigative questioning. He can't lie. He can't protect Gregory anymore. Gregory realizes, watching Curtis leave the interview room with documentation in hand, that he's no longer controlling the narrative. The auditors have statements now. They have corroboration from an independent witness. They have multiple accounts that don't match his story. His face goes pale. His hands shake. And I know we're getting very close to the moment everything changes. The auditors uncover the reassignment email. The critical one where my name was removed and someone else's was inserted. It's in the archived system, backed up and preserved and documented with perfect metadata. But more importantly, they find the original version. They compare the two versions side by side. The file metadata shows exactly when the change was made. It shows Gregory's user ID as the person who made the edit. Shows the timestamps. Shows the before and after. The room goes silent when they present this evidence to him. The demotion suddenly looks completely different now. Not like a performance issue. Not like a legitimate restructuring decision. Like something calculated. Like something designed to hide something bigger. Like cover for his mistake. And Gregory's face confirms everything. The color drains completely. His hands go still. And I know he understands that this is over. Gregory pulls me aside in the parking lot after work. His voice is low and controlled, but barely. He tries to reframe everything as miscommunication, as administrative confusion, as something that got lost in transition and was never intentional. I listen without interrupting. I let him talk. I let him dig deeper and deeper into explanations that don't hold water, that contradict the evidence, that make his situation worse with each word. When he's finished, I meet his eyes and say nothing at all. The silence unsettles him more than any accusation could. Because silence means I'm not defending him. Silence means I'm not accepting his explanation. Silence means I know exactly what he did, and nothing he says will change that reality. He leaves. And I never see that confident version of Gregory again. HR becomes officially involved. The questions turn direct and formal. The evidence stacks higher. They interview me in a proper meeting with documentation, and I present everything I've organized over these past months. The timelines, the email chains, the corroboration from Curtis, the recording of Gregory's evasive feedback. They ask me directly, "Do you believe the demotion was unjustified?" I answer calmly and carefully. I believe the work I did on the Meridian project was reassigned without explanation or documentation. I believe the demotion came after that reassignment, not before. And I believe the documentation supports that sequence of events. I don't accuse. I don't demand revenge. I don't ask for punishment. I just present what happened and let them draw their own conclusions from the evidence. And the story Gregory built, the performance issues, the administrative confusion, the miscommunication, collapses under its own weight and contradictions. They ask me to clarify my involvement in the projects officially, not as a victim seeking justice, as a participant in the investigation, as someone with knowledge of what actually happened. I speak calmly and factually. No bitterness, no anger, no emotion, just accuracy. I explain what I did when I did it, how I did it, and what the outcome was. I present it like I'm a professional presenting facts to auditors, because that's exactly what I am. I don't frame it as betrayal. I frame it as documentation. I don't frame it as suffering. I frame it as facts. And facts are undeniable. The audit concludes officially. Leadership reviews the findings carefully. The conclusion is crystal clear and documented. The demotion was unjustified and was used to shield misconduct. Specifically, Gregory's risky decision-making on the Meridian account and his subsequent attempt to reassign blame to protect himself. Gregory's authority is frozen pending further review. He's still technically employed, but he's sidelined completely. He's no longer a decision-maker. He's no longer a manager. He's just a person waiting for the final termination to come. He avoids me completely now. He doesn't speak in meetings. He doesn't make eye contact in hallways. He doesn't exist in the office anymore. He just haunts it like a ghost, waiting for the axe to fall. And I feel no triumph. Feel no victory. Feel relief. Leadership calls me into a meeting. They offer me reinstatement to my original role. They offer me advancement. They offer me an apology and a formal commitment to correcting this injustice. I listen politely to every word. I hear everything they're saying. And for the first time, I understand something fundamental that changes everything. I don't need their validation anymore. I didn't prove my worth to them. I proved it to myself. I didn't need them to acknowledge my contribution. I needed to know that I could stand up for the truth. And that's enough. I decline the role. Not angrily. Not dramatically. With a letter that's professional, documented, and clear about my reasons. I've decided to leave the company entirely. Not because I'm broken. Not because I'm afraid. But because I've spent enough time and energy here already. I've proven what I needed to prove. I've won what I needed to win. And I'm not interested in staying in a place that tried to erase me, no matter how much they apologize now. I leave with my reputation restored and officially documented. I leave with my record clean. I leave with recommendations from leadership and evidence of my contributions recorded in the company's official files. The office watches in stunned silence as I pack my desk on a Friday afternoon. They watch as I walk toward the elevator. And they understand finally that I was never the problem. Gregory was. The system that allowed him to operate unchecked was. Weeks later, I hear through a former colleague that Gregory is no longer with the company. He resigned or was terminated depending on who's telling the version of the story. I don't feel triumph. I don't feel vindication or satisfaction. Feel relief. The person who tried to erase me is gone. The system that allowed his predatory pattern is finally broken. And I didn't win by destroying him through anger or revenge. I didn't win by being aggressive or dramatic or vengeful. I won by refusing to disappear. I won by staying calm when he expected panic. By collecting evidence when he expected silence. By letting him underestimate me while I documented everything. By being precise when he expected emotion. By waiting patiently when he expected desperation. And I won by walking away on my own terms, with my head high and my record intact and my conscience clear. The demotion didn't break me. It taught me something Gregory never learned. That real power doesn't come from titles or status or authority. It comes from knowing the truth and having the patience to wait for the right moment to speak it. I'm starting fresh somewhere new. I'm building something better. And I'm not looking back.